Alrighty, so week 4 gone, week 5 in. So graded a little while ago, and for the most part, seems like you all did good examples of using the try except um, blocks in your code. My intention had been to go back and rewrite mine, but I didn't, and I didn't do a video, so apologize for that. I focused my time this week on getting my dev zero code started. So yesterday, and it kind of leads into this question that I want to give a shout out to Ephraim again because he's so good about asking such good questions. One of them I answered in the video, and I posted that video out on Discord. So my question is, how many of you, I think most of you, are on Discord, right? That could be the answer, the reply, but keep watching. So he was asking, like, of that week, and I kind of flashed the schedule, but I will release the schedule probably. Actually, I could do it today. No, I didn't talk to my JavaScript students. So I think what I will do is post that a week from today. But here's what you can know. If you watch the video, you actually see the dates that I am going to have available if you're doing your dev one code review the week of. If you're doing it the week before, which I've already had one student reach out, then you can just follow my office hours. But if those don't work, connect with me and let's figure out a time and day because I'll work to be as flexible as I can. Like I said, I typically don't work late at night. That's not something I do. I'm an early morning gal, so it works better if I have appointments scheduled before 6 o'clock and really 5 if I can. Right? So, yeah, so I have appointments all during that week. So the demonstrating in the local environment, right, will not be a gotcha. It'll be something we do all the time. I can already just give you, and I think I did this before, but like create a folder, create a file, do this code, and then do the Git workflow. That's really what it's going to be. I'm not going to tell you what the code is, but it's not intended as a gotcha. It's more intended of looking at your local dev environment to make sure you have all the pieces working, right? So that's 20 points, right? 80 points for the code review. And I think that was the other question, a breakdown between the two. And I did that actually in that video. You can see it, but I'll show you again here. So it's 80 for the code and 20 for that. The one thing today, and I will say this, is I thought about this because I finished up, I'm almost done with section 6, which will be the last part, section 6, before we go into our dev. Is the one thing I didn't add and I added today, so I'll just be clear about this, was loops for lists. So we have loops when we talk about flow control. But in this case, I also want to see you, and this is a modification I'm going to need to make to my code, is to actually demonstrate the use of loops related to a list. Okay. So just know that that's there. And I'm sad we don't have a learn together for that week 6 because there would be some great concepts to make sure we hit as far as pass by reference. So hopefully you get those. We could have a discussion about that. So here's my thing I want to say is that one of the things I had intended to do was actually to code up the use of raising your own exceptions. So what you can see in this very simple code example, and it's actually rare that I use W3 schools, but in this case, I thought this was a pretty self-explanatory one, is just, you don't have to even put them in a try block. You can just say raise example if this condition exists. So outside of, you can use them also in try except blocks, but you can just raise an exception, basically what we call throw an error as well. So there are ways to do that. I don't require that for the dev, but it had been my intention to do that for this week. But I didn't get to it because, as I said before, I actually wrote the code example for my dev 0. Okay. And this video that's here, I posted out on Discord. So here's going to be my question for you today is I want you to look at, because I posted it out on GitHub, out on our A95, out on my public repo. Okay, so if you look at my repo on my public one, I posted the code itself out here. And, here's my question for you is I want you to look through this, right? And there's a couple things you could reply. First, once you look through it, is there any questions you have about why I did something? Which, by the way, I'm not saying I am the best coder in this class. It's not my, you know, I'm just not going to say that. The truth is, there's people in here that are really good at this stuff, and that's good. It's good for you to read everybody's examples. So first, one thing you might do, depending on where you're at, look through here and ask me any questions about why I did certain things. And the other side of this could be like, what could I do differently, right? Because that's part of the joy of working in groups is that you really get another pair of eyes on that. So you could answer it that way as well. I definitely see some areas here. What I was saying around the dev was that one thing I need to do now that I've added this final requirement of list and loops, right? And I know that this idea of 90% is a little like, what does that mean? Well, just implement as much of this as you can. And the truth is, if I was you and I really wanted to learn, I'd do all of it. Just because it's good to be able to use all those things. But more importantly, is you want the idea of your app has a goal, an objective. Like for me, it was to create a way for the user to either play the game of rock, scissors, paper or have the code play itself. So that was my goal, right? And then my code implemented that or achieved that objective. And it achieved it because it did work. Now, the question would be then, can you do that code in more efficient ways? For this dev, it's not that if you do it inefficiently, or the key is, does it do the thing you're wanting it to do? Does it run without errors? Can you explain it, right? So that's the code review part of this. So, but again, I posted the video that actually goes over it in more depth. I definitely recommend you check that video out because I did talk about it as far as I walk through the code. And so maybe that, if you have a question, I would probably say go look at that video before you post that because maybe I already covered that. Maybe I answered it. But, the point of this assignment is to have you go look at that code, right? And then ask questions. So I did, and I could have definitely done a better job of documenting, but I at least give a short description, right? And I did comments above at least all the functions to say what they did. And then, so anyway, you can see that in the output. So, and the other thing is you might look at something like this and say, is this what I need to do? Well, I mean, this is the point of all of us taking a concept that we have in our brains and writing code that implements to the best of our ability that concept or achieves that concept, right? And we all will have code. I mean, we could have the same objective and our code would be different. So in this case, our code should all be very different. I shouldn't really see somebody that does conceptually what I did. You should be approaching it in your way of thinking about the user and what you want the user to experience when they interact with your code, right? So, okay, so that's really, right? So again, I didn't really see anything blaring that came out of last night that I could go over, except that maybe we talk about exceptions. We go into lists this week. I do have a Learn Together that kind of spans the 2 weeks because the week after we won't have a Learn Together. We will only have the Develop It. Okay, so the importance of watching that other video is really to understand the timeline as well. Because if you're waiting until the 17th to submit, just understand that you do have to submit working code. You just have a little while to do the code review. Okay. All right. I gave you a lot to reply to, but I did ask for one specific thing, so hopefully you caught that. I hope you all have a great weekend. It is a holiday weekend, which means everything gets bumped a week, right? Just to make sure. I think what I'll do is go in and look. I think I've already done this for you all, but it doesn't hurt to actually do it again, is to go in and look at this class. Yep. So that means Monday is a holiday. So your 5 and part of 6 moves to the 8th, but everything else stays in line the way it is. I hope you have a nice I think it's Labor Day. I should know. Oh, it is Labor Day weekend. I hope you have a good one. Know that this weekend I'm actually kind of doing a little traveling, so I may not be as accessible, but just know, like anything else, if I can, I'll reply whenever I see post. I do know that I did see, and I didn't get to participate, but there was a good discussion about modules in Python. So I'll try to go back there when I get a little time and participate with that discussion. So thanks for all that use Discord. It seems like it's a pretty healthy environment out there as far as conversation. All right. Peace out.